This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, I want to first of all apologize that we didn't start the recording earlier, but we're at the cube demonstration portion. Lisa is demonstrating the cube, and then we'll keep moving with our presentation.
How many people compare to you?
Don?
Yes.
How many people compare to the unit at one time with that?
You can only have one person paired to the unit at a time, and that proof of presence is as part of the security measure. And as soon as they close that app, it disconnects. We're connecting with the unit only with Bluetooth, and it's only for installation and troubleshooting and interaction with the unit when you're at the place.
Is that even the older generation units, or is that just recent?
It kind of broke up. Could you ask the question one more time, please?
Is that for all Surefire units, even the first generation, or is that for the newer ones that you compare?
All right, so the app only works on the second generation moving and forward.
Okay.
But
so, like, when y'all first launched the earlier units, they don't have the app capability, correct?
Right, and if you're talking about the very first units, those are the clear plastic ones that kind of had an enclosure there. Is that what you're talking about?
No, these are from about like a year and a half, about the time Control Products and the other suppliers started carrying them.
Okay, so that's actually number 2, because when we first started with Control Products, they started with the Rev 2 on that. So all the Control products that had come through would be able to interface with the app. But between Rev 2 and Rev 3, there was an upgrade to the firmware so that Rev 3 has the ability to do more with the app than Rev 2 does. But we're well into Rev 3. Anything that's being sold probably in the last 8 to 10 months would all be the newest revision of the Surefire Bridge.
Okay.
John, this is Jay. Quick question.
Yes, sir.
If the technician, the CPSG technicians on site is apped onto the unit, can the people at Surefire see the results he's seeing on the other end to help remote troubleshoot?
If they allow them to. So what they can do is they can call up and this is a great scenario for a lot of, if anybody has trouble in the field, they can call up the helpline, and then they can remote in and see what's happening in the unit live. But you do have to give them permission to go in. It's not like some creepy guy's going to be just looking in your phone. What happens is they'll request to be able to see what's happening in the app. You'll have to give them permission to do that, and then they can look at it from company headquarters in Provo. The engineering teams and things like that can look exactly what's happening inside the app, and that way it allows you to not only have the ability to see what you see from the app, but also some experts from Surefire tech support. A great question, Jay. Did that answer it?
Yes, thank you.
So the Surefire relay only.
So the Surefire relay only, which we will get to here in just a second, is basically 2 relays each direction, wet or dry. So a lot of times people are using that for, like for example, we went to the Cummins factory and did an install. She had about 6 gates that she wanted to be able to get a phone call, the secretary, get a phone call, say, hey, I'm at gate number 3. It's Bob. can you let me in? She just wanted to be able to push the button from her desk. And so she used the relay only units, and basically you can do 2 relays each direction. So you could not only, if it was just going to be 2 gates that are close to each other, you could actually do the opening with 1 unit because you have 2 different relays out. And then they also used a position sensor to know if the gate was open or closed, and that could come back. So you could even do 2 gates if they were right next to each other.
With 1 unit.
With 1 unit, if they were close enough in proximity to wire those in. But you have 2 relays out, 2 relays coming back. And then, of course, the relay only unit doesn't have the Wiegand inputs, but the Wiegand has the 4 relays as well. It's just a few dollars cheaper. It's a great question. Other questions that you had as you played with the cube?
I know.
So, Nick, pretty straightforward. It's kind of how you guys have been wiring it up, right?
Yeah, it's my first time ever wiring one up. I just did it today, and they told me y'all are having one of these, so I came over here. I ain't even finished yet.
Okay. And you know, this is one of those scenarios that if you have a need, we can even have Lisa slip out and take a look at the unit. You can call me. I can help you with if there's any questions with the wiring on it. As you got through there, did you have any questions with the wiring on how that Wiegand unit wires up?
No.
Okay. But if something does come up, we're happy to help you.
Okay, appreciate it.
Okay, and thank you, Lisa, for demonstrating that cube. Were there any questions or anything confusing about how that works? So what did you find helpful? Well, we'll get to the app in a minute, so we'll just keep rolling. We had a question, was it, I can't remember, was it Eric that was asking about it's a little hard to tell. Was it Eric that was asking about the relay only?
No.
That was me, Paul.
Okay, Paul. We'll talk about the relay only right now for just a minute. Same relays as the Wiegand, except for it doesn't have the Wiegand inputs. This particular install right here was with a proximity reader, but they weren't sending a signal. 2 relays each way, wet and dry. I think I've already told you about that we used it for some request to exit buttons. This is actually one of the things that we've used with the MyQ system for LiftMaster. We've been able to integrate. A lot of people have probably asked you about this, like, hey, I like the MyQ system, but I've got this gate that's 500 feet down the road. Wi-Fi doesn't reach that far, right?
Right.
I'm assuming that you guys have ran into that problem before, yes?
3 times last month.
Okay. So we have actually, we had a guy at Control Products branch down in Vegas. We sat down together and we worked on some things, and we ended up using their generic garage door opener product, wired in the Surefire unit to run the relays. They connected the MyQ piece in their garage, and we're able to still use the MyQ and a position sensor to open and close their gate from a lot further distance than their Wi-Fi would work. So it can be used with a lot of different things. Relay unit has been used with that quite a bit, as well as some RFID readers, specifically for toll gates. Once the toll has been, the toll reader says, yep, that one's good, open the gate, they were able to use the relay units for that. So, as well as some boilers and chillers and things. But basically, same as the Wiegand, just minus the Wiegand inputs. The HVAC 24-volt relay is an interesting one. It actually works with 24-volt relays like with HVAC units, but it also can do 9 to 15 volts DC. So as we do this one's actually one of those that we use in a lot of different things. With HVAC, it's used with heat pumps, fan coils, condensers, things like that. Whenever you have wire that's bad, or in a scenario like a big box building, a big warehouse or something, all of those rooftop units can be controlled 1 to multiple, which shows here. This is a heat pump example, which I know you guys have a lot of those in Texas. You can either split the channels, so have 2 channels go one place and 5 channels go to another, or you can duplicate the channels like this. You can do one to multiple. This is how it was set up in a big, big warehouse. We had 42 rooftop units, excuse me, 42 rooftop units, and they wanted to control them 1 to 8. And so they put, because it was, you only had to have one thermostat in this section, and that one thermostat controlled all those rooftop units being controlled with regular stat wire. So we were able to do that 1 to multiple, and they didn't have to wire anything in that building for the HVAC. So they were pretty excited about that, especially when you have a 35-foot, 40-foot warehouse ceiling. You guys want to get up there with a scissor lift and start wiring that? Nobody does. So this makes it really easy. 15 minutes at each side, and you're done. So the analog I/O we've used quite a bit with building automation systems, both sensors and controllers, but anything you want to give a percentage to, whether that's voltage. So like a 0 to 10 volt actuator, you can open and close something 30% or 50% or whatever. It could be used to also send back sensors in the oil and gas industry. We've had quite a few people use these in refineries because they've got tons of sensors throughout this refinery, and they're always retrofitting and changing, and the sensors can send voltage, milliamp, or thermistor info back, and you don't have to figure out a way to run the wire. So I'm hoping that some of these things are starting to trigger ideas in your head, things that you can possibly use it for. And this is probably the most important part of this entire conversation. And that is, why is it helpful to you guys? All right. I'll tell you a couple stories about other integrators across the country and how they're using it to just eat the lunch of their competition. But basically, there's two major things when it comes to your bids, right? They want to know how much it's going to cost, and they want to know when you can do it. And when it says time, also how long it's going to take, right? So you come to a company and you say, okay, we can do this access control that you want. It's going to cost you $20,000 of equipment and everything and whatever. And then you say, well, but it's also going to cost another $10,000 in trenching and going under the road or going through the parking lot or whatever else, or usually it's even twice as much as that. And they say, well, we want it, but maybe we're an HOA that we really want to have access control, but we've just priced ourselves out of the job because of the wiring, where that wire has to go. Maybe everything's finished and you have to go under all of the sidewalks, whatever that might be. I'm assuming you've probably had that scenario happen before. What do you think? Eric, has that happened to you before?
Audio's cutting out just a little bit. Say that one more time. Okay.
So where you've gone out to a bid and they definitely want access control, but because of either trenching or boring or having to go under sidewalks or whatever, the running of the wire got so expensive that it priced them out of the job. And they said, I guess we'll just stick with keys. Has that happened before?
Many times.
Many times. And unfortunately, it happens a lot more than we'd like. And we stick it in a file and say, I guess they'll have to figure out a way to come up with some more money or something. Well, with Surefire, we found that a lot of times we can go back to those people. We call them dead files. And a lot of our integrators are going back and saying, hey, that job that was going to cost us $50,000 to do at this HOA, we can now do it for $25,000 because we don't have to run wire anymore or whatever. And they've been able to get a lot of those jobs. One of the other ways that is you've got some star integrators. You guys go through a lot of training. You've got people who work in your shop, and maybe Eric, you've got a lot of people in your shop here. These guys go through a lot of training. They have recertification hours. They have a lot of experience. They can program stuff. They can set limits. They can do all this stuff. But sometimes we say, okay, you've got all this skill, but we're going to have you dig a hole. And when you're sitting there digging a hole, you're thinking, am I really making money? Am I really, using my skills wisely? You have these star integrators that can make you money, but we have them trenching or digging holes, and basically they could be off on another job making you more money. We also find this, I had an integrator down in Vegas, and he said he had more work than he could handle, so he decided he was going to hire a new guy. So he went through the interview process, hired the best guy he could find, And the guy went through training, and after about the third day of him working on his own, he didn't show up back to work. And this guy, his name's Chris, he's like, what's the deal? Tried calling him, couldn't find him, could not find where this is. He had given him a van outfitted with all the tools and the ladders and all the stuff that you need. And so he, after 3 or 4 days, made a police report. They eventually found that van abandoned on the side of the road, all the tools stripped out of it, and that kid was gone. And he was so frustrated. He's like, man, I spent so much time, and all he's doing is costing me money. With Surefire, you can take your star integrators, the guys who you can trust, the guys who've already gone through all the training, and you can have them do 3 times the amount of work because they don't have to pull the wire and dig the holes. And so Chris, this guy I was telling you about, he said, I am not going to pull wire again. And he started using 15 to 20 Surefire units a week because he's like, we're not doing this anymore. I want my star integrators. I want these guys who know what they're doing to make my money for me. So, multiplying those star integrators and having them so that you can do 3 jobs a week instead of 1 or whatever the job is that week can make you a lot more money. You can officially complete those jobs. You can actually win more bids. So you're now doing 3 or 4 jobs a week where you were doing 1 or 2 before. So when you go and have a bid, you might be the same price as the next guy, but they say, well, when can you do it? Because that's always the second question, right? You say, well, the bid's going to be $15,000. They say, great, when can you do it? And if you have to tell them 3 or 4 weeks from now, or 5 or 6 weeks from now, are they pretty excited about that? Not terribly excited. So, but if you can say, you know what, we can get to you in 7 days, or we can get you in 4 days because you're more efficiently finishing up jobs because you don't have to wire, you win more bids. Because if you're going to be 6 or 8 weeks out, they might go to the next guy who can do it in 3 weeks because he's not as good as you are, but he's available. So the other thing that we found is with those dead files, if you go back to them, this guy in Vegas I was telling you about, going back to his dead files, he's been able to get 60% of them back. There's a lot of jobs just sitting out there, especially HOAs, that could be picked back up if you don't have the expense and the time that you need to do the wiring. So, I asked Eric about that, if he's ever lost jobs because of the time and expense of wiring. He said all the time, right? Could we go back to those jobs and say, hey, I noticed that you don't have access control yet because of a new technology. We can do this now for 40 or 50% of what we could do it before. Or maybe they'll bite if it's 60% and you make an extra 10%. That just depends on how you want to set up your business model. So let me ask you, Paul, can I ask you a question, sir?
Sure.
Of these things that we talked about on this page, what kind of rings true to you for your business? Like, what of that would be important and helpful for your particular business?
All of it. I've used quite a few of them, and I've had, knock on wood, I've had good luck with them. I haven't had any problems with range or adaptability. So I'm just coming in to see if there's anything new.
Well, we are going to get to the new stuff here in a second, so I really appreciate that. I find that the people who start using them, if they've had good luck with a couple of them, they start using them quite a bit, and it saves them a lot of money. So that business decision of, hey, we're going to stop wasting time, we're going to just use this because we can depend on it. I'm hoping that as you start using more and more, you find that it saves you more money, gets you more jobs. So thank you. I appreciate that. All right, we're going to get over to some of the new stuff in a second, but these testing units is something that I hope Lisa has one with her. Lisa, do you have one of those evaluation kits?
Yes, I have one at each table.
Okay. Now, each of these evaluation kits are something that you guys can just sign up for online. You just go to surefire.com, go to the bottom. Lisa can help you do it. Just sign up for it. We'll send you one free of charge. Now, they're not free for us, right? Why do you think I'm willing to send a $100 unit out to you and so that you can test signal strength free of charge? Why would I do that?
So we can keep buying your product.
Yeah, we find that people test it and they find out that, hey, you know what? I've got two signals, full strength signals coming back to me right here. I can use that product reliably it's worth it to us to send that out to you that you can confidently bid jobs. You keep that in your truck, you go out and you test the range and you say, yeah, this is going to work. Now, we were talking about this before with Kevin, but when you test that range, you're going to see 5 LEDs light up when you're right there next to it close. All that means is that we've received at least 5 paths back, 5 signals. When you get down to 3 or 2, people start thinking, well, the signal's not very good. It's actually not the same way as it is with a cell phone. When I get to 1 bar and I'm talking to my wife, she hears and she doesn't understand a word I'm saying, right? That's not the case with the Surefire unit. This is multipath, so what that is doing is basically just telling you how many paths you have. Even 1 LED is a full communicating path, and that's all you need. Of course, I love to see more paths, but 1 is plenty. So we were talking, Kevin had 3, and he was concerned about it. As we remember that it's multipath, that will help alleviate. That means you have 3 full signals going out and coming back, whereas a lot of products just send a single signal. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. Take a look at that as you're passing that around, and we're going to move on to stuff coming up. Now, this is probably where, Paul, you're getting excited because this is the stuff that's coming up that's new. I'm actually leaving right after this meeting. I'm taking off to go to Idaho, and I'm going to do a serial data test. There's a beet farm up there, and they need control over vast expanses of beet piles that they have to ventilate, and they need serial data to do that. And they've had to do it a really expensive way thus far. So I'm going up there. We're going to do a test on it because we have the serial data bridge, which you can see right there at the bottom. That serial data allows you to transfer information with RS-485, RS-232, which in access control means oftentimes between, like a four-door expansion port, right? And then you have to hardwire that all the way back to the controller. Well, now with the serial data bridge, you would be able to, if it's the right type of communication, you'd be able to send that wirelessly through, that school or whatever. I was at a school last week where they were needing this exact device. So that's what the serial data bridge does. We have the Access Pro, which is up there at the top, and that allows you to do not only Wiegand, but also allows you to do OSDP. Now, have any of you run into OSDP yet?
Well,
I see maybe someone shaking their head in the back. OSDP basically is the next version of Wiegand. It allows you some security that you didn't have with Wiegand. It also allows you self-addressing. So OSDP is kind of an upgraded version of that, but it'll allow you to do that with the Access Pro. And once we get the self-addressing nailed down, this one's still in the works, but should be out in the next 3-4 months. Once we get the self-addressing figured out, we should be able to do one of multiple, where we have lots of doors coming into a single place. The Relay Pro on the top left there, that allows you to do 8 relays. So our original relay unit was doing 2 each way, right? This will do 8 each way, 6 1-amp relays, and 2 8-amp relays. So if you have a heavy-duty relay that you need, this will allow you to do that along with 6 others each direction. So you have a total of 12 relays all being connected with the access control. And that's why something like that really could take care of a lot of things at a location, right? So of those 3 new products that we've got, some of them are in beta, and we're just getting those out in the next few weeks and months. Paul, any of those excite you?
yeah, interesting.
What
How before launch?
What's that?
How long before launch do you think on the one that's has the RS-232?
So that serial data with the RS-232 and 485 is the one that's closest. We've got it in some beta testing already. And like I said, we're going out to put it in some more beta in the next few weeks. It's just a guess, but I would say probably within the next 6 to 8 weeks, we should see that one ready for commercial application. So what applications are you thinking about with 232 and 485?
Like large apartment complex management, it will be. data back and forth between the units in the office.
Okay, so still access control, but communication between the controller and the door receivers, I guess, for lack of a better term. Yeah, and that particular aspect of it is huge because it's great to have all those peripheral doors, but sometimes you need to go in between the control pieces, right? And if we can do that in RS-232 or 485, depending on what model you're using, that would be huge. So we obviously, this is something that a lot of people have been asking for. And I'm going to make a note, Paul, if it's all right, that I will get in touch with you, and I'll have Lisa share my information as well, that we'd love to have you possibly install this in a beta application to connect and see how you like it.
All right.
Sounds good. All right. Now, kind of quick review. What of the things we're talking about, and we haven't let's see, we haven't asked Nick something for a while. Nick, of the things we've talked about, what things are most important to you?
Right now, just the weekends.
Okay. Okay.
That's pretty much my boss will be interested in.
Okay. That'd be great. And I invite you to ask Paul if Paul's okay with that. You know, some of the things he's been using it for, so maybe some tricks on how to employ it. And we're also happy to help where we can. If you need to call up, get some assistance in anything. You guys are smart guys. I know I've been on enough of these installations. No, you guys are smart guys. You guys know how these systems work. But every once in a while, I even get kind of turned around a little bit on an application and say, wait a minute, how is this going to work? And so please call us and let us help you solve a solution. Sometimes you'll get an application and go, wait a minute, which bridge do I need to use? Which IO? I need to do this and then this. Draw it up on a piece of paper. Send us a picture. We'll have our engineers help put something together. You don't have to solve everything yourself, is what I'm saying. So thank you, Paul. And one thing I was going to tell you a little bit about is that we have on this bridge, we have over 28 patents, a ton of different patents on how it works. I think you'll find that this has better propagation or better control communication through obstruction than anything out there. Now, of course, physics are physics. We've actually gone across the desert 116 miles. So we don't say that it'll do that. We've gone line of sight 116 miles on a 9-volt battery. But we still are limited by physics, right? So if you have a situation where it's just not quite far enough, we also have the ability to daisy chain these together. So you can take 2 units, daisy chain them together to double the amount of distance that you need. So I've been very impressed with this in the field. I've only had to daisy chain two installations, and that's out of over 300 that I've been to. But like I said, physics are physics. I'm not going to say it's a magic pill, but it's done better than anything I've found out there, and a lot of people are really happy with it. What other questions or applications are you thinking about?
Cases.
Nope.
Crickets.
Crickets. Well, either I'm the best teacher in the world or the worst, so I'm not sure which one it is.
I'm leaning
What's that?
towards the best.
Oh, you're so sweet. So what I'm going to do is, Lisa, will you take some time and show them the app if you haven't yet? And I'll stay online for just a few minutes. If anybody wants to come up to the computer, ask a question, let's talk a little bit about some of your applications you're using. If you have a concern about something, I'm happy to talk more with you about that, or if something I said was confusing, we'll stick around for a few minutes and come up and chat with us. Otherwise, talk with Lisa about getting registered for your own testing unit to get sent out to you. We usually have you out there within less than a week. So I appreciate it, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
We actually covered the app while we were up at the Cube.
Very good.
Anybody else have questions while we have him on the line? Mike?
One thing I would say, and as I leave, is if you can find a way to take your business and make it more effective, and maybe part of that can be Surefy, make you more efficient with your time, cheaper with your bids. We have some people who are just eating other people's lunch because they've decided that they're not going to waste time and waste their integrators anymore. So you guys are too valuable, so I appreciate it. But I'll stick around, like I said, for a minute or two. If anybody has questions they want to come privately and talk to me about, let's do it. Thanks so much, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll go ahead and bring up the website if you guys want to register for that before you leave. And then there's lunch in the break room over there too. But before we let John go, does anybody else have questions?
Hey,
Okay.
Kevin, did that make sense to you when I was talking about putting in that dummy card reader between the tracker board and the controller with the Surefy unit?
Half and half. I gotta try it before I can really initialize what's going on with it. I don't know if I can get around to it because we ordered 4 new card readers. We got them on order today to replace this. So I don't know how much time we're going to spend just so I can test that theory out.
Yeah, that's fine. Stick it in your pocket for when you have time and you have the scenario. But keep in touch with us. I want to make sure that you're happy with how things are working with it. All right? Okay.
That'll work, and I do appreciate your tech support. When I was online with them, they ran through everything we could possibly do, and they helped me out to get online, get your app downloaded so we can see the cards, and he was recognizing to me. If it don't recognize the card, it's going to be in something else, and he's, recommended trying different things. And then he says, scratch your head after an hour and a half, chatting with me on the phone. He says, take it to the shop, bench test it. Try a different Wiggin device. It might be the Wiggin, the Wiggin you have in your hand. So that's where we ended up, and the other Wiggin device works. It's a lot of help.
Okay. Well, like I said, I appreciate the feedback on it because I hadn't run across that one myself, but she sent me the model number, so I'm going to look into that and make sure I'm aware of it as well. So thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it.
Thank you all.
All right, gentlemen. If you don't have anything else for me, I will tell you good afternoon. Hope you have a great time and wish I were in Austin.
Very hot.
Okay. Hey, Lisa, thank you so much. Is there anything else you would like me to stick around for?
I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. And also, Jay, thank you for moting in. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
What was that website?
Surefy.com. SURE-FI.com. I can pull it up right here if you want.